this, we turn to Bert Hofman, the director of East Asian Institute at the National University of Singapore, or the NUS. Bert, good to see you. What should we make of these Chinese numbers, because they seem to be kind of half good, half not so good?
Well, there is some good news. As you already said, the June numbers were a lot stronger than the overall quarter, and that promises to be a stronger third quarter and fourth quarter. Economic growth remains positive. Some had said, well, China is going to actually see a negative growth for the second quarter, but it's still positive. 0.4% growth over second quarter last year is of course not good. But is better than some expected. There are, though, a number of factors at work that will give some headwinds going forward, including the world economy. But there's also, if you look deeper to the numbers, the hit on the real estate sector, that remains an issue. You also see business investment not that strong compared to infrastructure investment from the government. So there's some challenges going ahead.
Share with us a little bit more about this real estate situation. We know that they've gone through some challenges, obviously COVID as well, but even prior to COVID, there was a lot of people talking about the overheating real estate market, and now there's been talk perhaps that the government might step in to kind of assist. Give us what you know.
So look, the situation in real estate is complex. For years, it has been a very big driver of the economy. Some say it's even 25 to 30% of the overall economy if you take on the indirect effects. So it's a big part of the economy. The Chinese government became concerned because of a lot of it was debt driven, and household debt increased. The real estate developers increased their debt. So they introduced measures, the 3 red lines, to reduce the leverage in the real estate sector. That worked well, but maybe a bit too well, and some companies got into trouble. And then there was a knock-on effect that basically consumers said, well, I'm getting a little afraid of now investing in housing, and therefore they held back in buying. That further complicates the financial situation of the companies, who in part rely on down payments from consumers on apartments still to build. So that has caused the cooling down of the sector. Some companies got into real trouble. I think the government has taken some measures to help them. But going forward, I don't think the government would want to go sort of back to the old days of increasing debts and more real estate. There's lots of empty apartments in China. What they can do for real estate development or the property sector is, for instance, do much more social housing. That's a government responsibility. They can help invest in there, and that would keep the economy going in a different way than before.
Yeah, along kind of the similar lines, you know, we talk about housing here in the U.S. and interest rates and the impact it has, and some are saying that it's a bit of a surprise that we see strong retail sales numbers despite interest rate hikes, which is it fair to say ultimately it's good that the U.S. consumer remains strong, because that ultimately should benefit China as well?
Well, it's definitely good for China. The one thing that works really well in Chinese economy is exports at the moment. And of course, the American consumer is very important for the global economy, so that helps. Also, it has more impact now than before, simply because a lot of the supply chain bottlenecks that were there, a lot of the transport bottlenecks that were there in the wake of COVID, they're gradually reducing. So world trade is picking up, and that's good for China.
The growth in China, how do we, you know, I guess temper the expectations of being optimistic about growth while at the same time being cautious because of the COVID situation, which China's still dealing with very much so right now?
Well, look, as you said, there is a target of 5.5%. It's an informal target. It's not a hard target for the Chinese government, but that now looks really quite ambitious. The first half of this year was 2.5% growth. If China would want to achieve 5.5%, they need 8% growth in the second half, and that is really a very ambitious target. If China's growth is a little bit less, that's not a surprise. The whole world, as a matter of fact, it's not just China, the whole world is cooling down. Some even talk about a recession in Europe. There's real risk for some other emerging economies. So the world is falling short of expectations, and I wouldn't be surprised that China were too.
And I guess that leaves us with the wild card of what happens in the next 6 months with COVID. Bert Hofman, good to see you. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic weekend.